Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan.
And I'm Nick.
So Zach is going to be on a hiatus for a little while, but until he returns, we're going to continue this and we're going to finish our Halloween, I guess, pair of episodes. I guess this is part 2.
Yep.
Yeah. And both of these are Halloween related, so it ends up working out pretty good. They're both Halloween related, more so than many movies we've covered on these Halloween specials in the past,
Yeah.
Like I barely even remember that Mazes and Monsters is a Halloween movie, so.
I barely remember that movie.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you're lucky. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, I guess before we talk about these two movies, did you watch anything recently that you want to talk about?
Yeah, what was it? I watched It Comes at Night.
Oh, nice. Is that that post, like it's like a end of the world type of thing where there's like a pandemic and this family is like in isolation or whatever, and
Yep.
I think okay, cool. All right, I remember liking that one actually. What
I
were
did
your thoughts
too.
on it?
I liked it a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it getting a lot of shit like when it came out and stuff because I guess the trailers made it look like it was a monster horror movie. Like it's not. I don't even think it's barely a horror movie, really. It's more of like a thriller kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's horror and like the very very loosest sense of the word. Like, there's really only kind of like one element of it that I would even consider horrific, and it's like not even like, it's more of like the visions that one of the character has were really scary. But like aside from that, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much just kind of like a survival story almost, so.
Yep. About two families that are, trying to come together, but there's paranoia all about because the sickness kills and
the paranoia ends up kind of destructing the entire situation, if I recall. So, yeah. I mean, I like that direction, because it's definitely a more realistic and unexpected type of direction than what one usually gets from those types of movies, so like, where you kind of expect certain like progressions to be made, but then it never quite happens the way one would hope. Think people are unpredictable. It's tricky. You never know what's going on inside anyone's head. So
and you're skeptical of those newcomers in these kind of movies, but those guys seem to be good people too. And then the main family just fucks everything up too. So it's like, wow, okay, shit.
Yeah. That's kind of what made the movie especially tragic, is the fact that the characters that you kind of have been caring about from the beginning of the movie end up basically being the bad guys without really even meaning to, actually. Like, I like that director. Yeah. Trey Edward Schultz, I think his name is.
No. Yeah. It was A24. I know that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. I actually have not seen his more recent film Waves. I know a few people that have liked it, but I think it got pretty mixed reviews when it came out. I've been curious about that one. But his first movie, Krisha, is really good.
I haven't really heard of him, so I'll try and check it out, I guess.
Yeah, look for Krisha. It's really uncomfortable, but it's an excellent movie. It's one of those homemade type of movies, but like it's done really well. So
Nice.
like I think he even includes his entire family in it, like, or at least most of them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And he may have even filmed it at his family's home too, or I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but from what I understand, though, it was like a family project, like where he directed his family. Yeah. But when you watch it, it's pretty interesting. So
Nice. That sounds cool.
yeah. I rewatched the first Saw movie today, just
Oh,
for the heck of
really?
it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually holds up pretty good, actually. I still feel like the flashbacks sort of take away a little bit from the suspense, but it's actually still a pretty spooky film, you know, like like I still love the scene where the guy is in his apartment with the camera flashing and all that stuff, you know, like I love stuff like that. Even though, you know, some people would probably consider it kind of cliche, but the way that movie did it was actually pretty effective, you know. Like I liked when it was just one movie where they just kept it simple but complicated enough that it would, like, you don't know, like, where you feel like the rug got pulled out from underneath you, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked really well in the first one. So
Yeah, that first one's really good. I like it a lot.
yeah, much more psychological, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, the rest range from hilarious to terrible. I
I
mean,
liked
some of them I liked more than others, but
I like
what
the
was that?
second one a lot as well.
Second one was good. Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember where I fell off either. I didn't watch all. I haven't watched all of them for sure,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
watched a good amount of them at least.
yeah, I tapped out after that 3D one. That was enough for me. I was like, okay, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna watch another one of these.
That might be where I stopped too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for most people, it seems like number 5 was a breaking point. I thought the series started to get kind of dreary around 3, and then 4 was just kind of messy. I mean, not totally terrible, but just you have to sort of like really try hard to sort of tie that one together. And then like after that, the 5th one felt like more of a recap. You know, it's just like that one detective guy finding out stuff we already knew. 6 was, I remember liking just because it made me laugh. And I think that had some of the gorier traps in it. Like that had the merry-go-round one.
Okay, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one that was in 3D was just like, I don't know what that one was supposed to be, but it wasn't good. The only thing I liked about it was that it took place in a junkyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard the new one's good. Question mark. That's what I've heard.
I heard that too. I'd be curious to check it out. I don't think I saw that Jigsaw one.
What about Spiral?
No, I haven't watched that one yet either.
I heard that was bad.
Yeah, I heard that was like the worst one.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me curious to watch it. But then I look at the runtime. I think it's like really long from what I.
Oh.
Yeah, but or I think that was the one that was long. But anyway, I haven't seen. I definitely want to see Saw 10 because I heard it takes place around the same time as like the first couple Saw films. So, so John Kramer's still alive in this one, which they were trying to find reasons to bring him back from the dead throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, anyway, that was silly. That was one of the annoying parts.
Yeah,
it's like okay, how is he coming back this time?
Yeah, for real. Like, and how is he able to plan so many different things in one location? Like, it's just like, I don't know. Especially that stupid like furnace rocket ship thing, like that furnace thing that closed on that woman looked like a rocket ship about to launch out into outer space. So stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't think I saw Jigsaw though. But Spiral I might watch. Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, I saw the first one, it holds up.
Okay.
So
Good.
it's
It's
a
good to know.
good, yeah, it's a good scary movie. So
Nice.
yeah. So speaking of scary movies, I guess
Mm-hmm.
we should. I guess we should talk about these spooky Halloween movies we chose. So,
So spooky.
yeah, very spooky. It's just crazy. But this one, the first, I get all right. So yeah, the first one that we're going to talk about is the one I chose, and it is a movie from 1986 called Trick or Treat. And I guess this movie, I'm gathering that it probably came out around the time that metal was starting to get really big, like in the time of like Megadeth and like bands like that, Black
Mm-hmm.
Sabbath. Um, so or maybe Black Sabbath was earlier, I forget. But I don't know my 80s stuff all that well. But this seems to be kind of made around that time, and so it's kind of taken that whole sort of culture and sort of utilizing it a little bit in a plot that is somewhat familiar. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that movie Christine by John Carpenter, but I don't know. I mean, it's got kind of a unusual sort of plot, I guess you could say. Like it
Mm-hmm.
kind of reminds me a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street as well. So yeah, had you heard of this movie?
No. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I don't I can't I think the first time I heard about this movie was like when I was like around like 13 or so.
Yeah.
The because I ran into Steve Bissett at the store one time and we were talking about movies, and he's the guy who did the Swamp Thing. He's the one who like did the cartoon studio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's somebody who I just for somehow happened to know. And I remember he recommended this movie one time, and that was like the only time I'd ever heard of it. He told me it was pretty fun. So, and it was just one that I'd always meant to watch, but just never did until now. So that's basically my Trick or Treat story. Um,
Nice.
yeah. So I guess yeah. So this movie, it pretty much I guess it starts off sort of. I mean, it takes place more or less like in a high school setting. Like it's about a teenager, and he, of course, is sort of a misfit teenager. He identifies with this musician fella who, um, what's his name? It's like I don't know. He's got like some kind of name.
Sammy
I
Kerr.
oh, that's right, Sammy Kerr. I wrote SK, but I can't remember what that meant. So, okay, Sammy Kerr. So he kind of idolizes this musician, Sammy Kerr, who he's kind of like I guess what do you call it, like an Alice Cooper type, who has sort of a theatrical stage show where he does all kinds of goofy, crazy sort of stuff on stage, like human sacrifice and bad eating and all that stuff. I think he's like eating an animal on stage at
Yeah.
one point. Yeah,
There was like a video of him like he bit a snake in half or something and like
that
drank
was
his
it.
blood.
Yeah, yeah. Which that was funny because then I started thinking about that Calamity of Snakes movie, and I'm like, how much more snake
Oh, right.
abuse are we going to endure on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's basically he's like that type of musician. And actually there's a pretty cool scene early on in the movie that I liked where the main kid, he's like at home and he's sort of casually watching TV, and they're talking about the musician on TV and showing like a appearance that he had in court over like an obscenity case or something like that, where he's
Mm.
like arguing about like you know who would your kids rather be raised by, a metalhead or a politician, and something like, I forget
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what he says, but it was something funny like that. And then it cuts to like, and then it turns out that it's a news report that is talking about him because it turned out he died in a fire, like in an apartment fire.
A
And I
hotel
actually,
fire, yeah.
yeah, a hotel fire. That's right. I thought that was effectively done because it kind of, because it wasn't clear why they were talking about him on TV and why they were showing all these like, like minister type people, 700 Club type folks,
Yeah, and they
talking
were,
about him.
and the kid was just casual, like doing dishes while listening to music too. So he just looked over and noticed he was on TV and was like, "Oh, what's this? Huh?"
Yeah, yeah, because he's kind of into it at first. Cause it's like, oh, he's showing his hero, but then you find out his hero is dead. So it's like, oh no. So that's pretty tragic for him, and he gets pretty upset about that. And
Yeah,
he gets
he
bullied.
goes into his room and rips off his posters.
Yeah, he has a complete fit, and tears his posters off his wall. His mom is kind of in the background for most of the movie. She, of course, I mean, the whole situation is more or less out of her control, but yeah, of course, he's getting bullied at school. And right at the beginning of the film, there's a whole humiliation sequence, where like he gets stripped naked in front of the cheerleaders or whatever.
Yeah.
So we get to see his ass. And but of course, so there's this girl who feels bad for him and starts kind of talking to him a little bit more as
His
a result.
crush
So,
too.
yeah, exactly. So but then of course, like that leads to another humiliation scene where he gets like pushed into a pool or something. So
Yeah, she invites him to a pool party and then she's late, I guess, and doesn't show up, and like the bullies say, "Why are you here?" And they put like a weight in his backpack and shove him in. Like,
yeah, which
they
is
could have
really
killed
messed
him.
up. They totally could, and they just stand there watching him drown. And so it's like, so it is clear to me at this point that he's having to contend with psychos at the school. So
Yeah.
I actually did feel pretty bad for him ultimately. And I thought that the acting actually for him was like, whoever, I didn't see who played him, but I actually thought he did a pretty good job making him kind of seem like an appropriately like misfit type of person who
Yeah.
just naturally doesn't fit in. He just has a really like relatable kind of quality to him.
Yeah, I thought the acting was good, more or less
Yeah,
all around. Yeah.
yeah. However, there's something that the bullies don't know, and what they don't know is that this guy that they're picking on here, he actually he's pretty into metal music,
Oh,
so
yeah.
much so that he actually has a buddy who is a DJ, and that buddy also happens to be played by Gene Simmons, which is pretty interesting.
He's only in it for like one scene though.
Yeah,
It's
that's
funny. I
kind of a
thought he would be
bummer.
in it a bit more, especially during the end when they have to go back to the radio station.
Yeah,
Like, cause he said they're gonna play that whatever at midnight, uh, and it's just like a set timed recording. So I thought he would be there or something. No.
yeah. I was disappointed that he didn't show up again, because I actually thought he was pretty memorable in his one scene. He actually has some pretty good acting chops. So
Yeah, and it's
uh,
early, or it's 80s Gene Simmons. I barely recognized him until, like, oh, there he is, because I knew he was in the
yeah,
movie, but
yeah. I didn't recognize Ozzy Osbourne when he showed up
not
either.
at all. I didn't at all.
Yeah,
I had to go back because I was like, well, where's Ozzy? And
yeah,
I looked up who he was and then just like, okay, there he is. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, both Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne are on the literal DVD cover that I have. And so I thought that they were actually going to be in the movie a lot more, but it turned out like I think it's mostly just cameos, really.
Hmm.
So that was whatever. I mean, it was still funny to see them, so I didn't
Yeah.
really mind that much. Um, but let's see. So okay, so he gets a hold of Sammy Kerr's last album that there's only one printing of it, and it's on this one record. And of course, Gene Simmons' DJ character has already made a copy of it on a cassette. So he passes off the record to our hero. I should probably look up his name actually, but since he's our main character.
It's Eddie.
Eddie.
I don't remember his last name, but it's funny because the
Oh yeah,
Stranger Things.
Eduardo Weinberger.
Yeah, it's funny. The Stranger Things metalhead is named Eddie as well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if
Okay,
they saw it and said, "Oh, here we go."
I hope so, because
That'd be cool.
like that would be cool. I could kind of see this movie almost taking place in the same universe as Stranger Things, honestly. Like, but I should have known because his friend calls him Eduardo at one point, But his friend Roger, played by Glenn Morgan, who was the guy who went on to, I think I know he wrote Final Destination 2, but I know he directed something. What was it? Oh, he directed Willard. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, Glenn Morgan. But apparently Trick or Treat is like the only acting performance of his career. So, oh well. But he plays Roger, and Roger's kind of a skeptic, about it, just a kind of intricate type of fella who thinks about things on scientific terms, So Eddie, when he starts listening to the record after the pool humiliation, he gets kind of freaked out because he thinks that there's some sort of subliminal messaging type stuff going on the record. But when he consults Roger's just like, no, get real. They just added that in as a gimmick so that you'd accidentally scratch your record in the process of going rewind and having to buy more.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that
funny,
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense in the case of a record that's never been printed like more than once. But whatever. I guess that's his logic. So I get it. But let's see. Eventually, though, that the messages start like kind of telling our hero Eddie stuff, and it kind of leads him into a bit of an altercation in the lunchroom.
Yeah,
he knocks the food platter.
It like tells him he's the bait or something, like use yourself as bait. So he, shoves a lunch tray into the bully's face and then makes a little run through the high school with little trap, not like anything crazy, but little like a bucket of water that they slip and fall into and stuff.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. The chase scene when he's going through the school and that one song is playing. It's like Army of One or whatever it was called. I can't remember what the song was called. It was about like something one person individual. I don't remember, but yeah, that was a great chase. It kind of reminded me of BMX Bandits a little bit. Of course, the chase scene in BMX Bandits was like an hour long, but still, it had that kind of energy though, because shit just kept on going wrong for the bullies. Like he at one point knocks a mop bucket over, and one of the bullies slips on it, and goes flying down the stairs.
Just shot out. Yeah, he got launched out.
Loved it. Oh my god, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So that happens, and so of course, the bullies are out for blood after that because it ends up resulting in them, like after they try to get the jump on him with fire extinguishers, they end up spraying some of the staff instead. So they like open the lounge thinking that he's in there hiding, and then they spray the staff. So punishments for all of them. Yay. I love seeing bullies getting punished. It's delightful. So that happens, and then there's this whole thing with where he like the record actually starts to like literally communicate with him, and starts basically threatening his friends. Like it starts like kind of showing some supernatural sort of qualities. Like there's this one part where he decides to copy the record and gives the copy of the tape to the bully. This is kind of after the bully has sort of already threatened him.
This is before, but even after that, or before that, they do that. He tells them to like go to the shop class 66 or whatever, and the bullies show up, and like somehow like one of the machines turns on and almost kills the main bully.
Yeah. That was gnarly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. But yeah, that was freaky.
Yeah.
That was actually probably the scariest scene in the movie. Um, yeah, the yeah, one of the machines goes haywire, and literally like the drill like almost goes into the bully's head, and the bully's like, turn it off, and he does. And then the
But he
bully
wait,
still
yeah, but he waits for a while. He's like had his hand on the thing and just waits till it's like basically on his
yeah,
head and then turns it off.
exactly. Which I thought the reason that he was waiting was because they were just waiting on him while he was drowning. So, so I thought that that made sense. I mean, because he was remembering that at that moment, But the bully decides to keep pushing him around, treating him like shit, even after he saves his life from the drill. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, the power of wait, what's his name? Sammy Carr? No,
I
Sammy
mean,
Kerr.
Kerr, yeah.
Yeah, Sammy Kerr, the power of Sammy Kerr is starting to affect the lives of the people around Eddie, and he does give a copy of the tape to the bully as a peace offering for, I think, or a truce.
That's what it said,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and then his girlfriend number 22 in the vehicle, she decides to spontaneously listen to it on a tape deck while her boyfriend goes to take a piss, and it kind of melts one of her ears off. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. I don't.
So
Yeah.
because she like starts glowing green and stuff and then gets all hot and heavy and
Yeah.
she like strips down and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. This is a very sexy scene where she's in the back seat of the car getting all turned on, and then this weird green stuff starts floating around and unbuttoning her clothes and pulling her panties down. And then she opens her eyes and there's like a giant monster thing staring her right in the face,
yeah.
which was gnarly. That's the only time that monster appears, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? I
So
could have loved,
random.
yeah, like I would have loved to have seen more of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of her ears gets all melted, but apparently she's okay though, because she's in the hospital afterwards. So you
Yeah,
don't
she
see
doesn't
it.
die. You
Yeah.
just hear she's in the hospital, yeah.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Um, and then let's see what else happened. Oh, okay. So yeah, so then, eventually Sammy Kerr starts actually, physically threatening Eddie's mom, basically.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
because after that girl gets sent to the hospital, he's like, okay, I'm done. Like reasonably, he's like, okay, no more of this. I'm done with you.
Mhm.
Because at this point they are talking back and forth and stuff, and he's like, no, you're not. Sammy's like,
Yeah.
no, you're not, and I'll kill Roger and your mom too and shit. Like, oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. Like this is about the point in the film where it diverges quite a bit from Christine, because the main character in this movie actually doesn't succumb to the dark side. He doesn't succumb to the evil. He instead decides to actually sort of actually have a conscience for a minute and be like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, he pretty much had a conscience the whole time, because he didn't really ever attack anyone or anything. The worst thing he did ultimately, I guess, was almost kill that guy with the drill, but that's about it, really. Um, so yeah, he actually does try to put a stop to him a little bit, and he does try to kind of divert his mom away from his room,
Oh,
because
yeah.
she offers him to aspirin and like soup or something like that.
Yeah.
So
And
um
the thing plays back his own voice saying, "No, mom, come in," and stuff in his
yeah.
own voice.
Yeah, it's like trying to kill her.
Hmm.
And he eventually ends up just smashing his record player.
Yeah, because he
um
couldn't unplug it or take the record off or anything because of
yeah.
magic and shit.
Yeah. And his mom comes in and she's like, oh, your stereo system, and he's like, oh, I wanted a new one. So I guess that makes it okay to smash. That's
Yeah.
all right. um I guess it's acceptable enough to her. So um so let's see. So it's probably about this time that Sammy Kerr literally emerges from the music and becomes in like goes like turns into physical form.
Hmm.
And I would actually have to say this is about the point in the movie where things kind of got a little bit less interesting and a little slow. I felt like once the musician comes out of the music and goes around and starts killing people. It doesn't really feel like a horror movie anymore. It kind of feels more like just kind of an odd sort of fantasy where like good and evil type of thing, where the main character has to kill the monster that's destroying the village.
Yeah, it
or
gets
whatever.
pretty generic after this part, after that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But they do still kind of have their own little rock and roll spin on it. The
Yeah.
musician, he's got nice crispy skin because he's been burnt. And he goes to this big rock concert. So Eddie's mom grounded him. So like that's kind of her excuse for not being in the movie anymore, because she goes with whoever to some party, and he sticks around the house for maybe like 5 minutes at most, and gives a shit ton of candy to one trick-or-treater. She's like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
But even before that, he tells he tells his friend to go get that tape.
That's right. That's the part I forgot.
Yeah, from the jock's house, because he needs to he needs to destroy all the copies of it after, and that's one thing. But the kid, of course, doesn't destroy it, is curious and listens to it. And then
Roger, goddamn you.
Yeah, and then Sammy Carr appears and like threatens him, tells him to go play this at the party tonight. And then he rips one of the evangelical ladies that's on the TV out of the TV, and she just combusts.
Yeah. Okay, actually he does that twice.
He does it to Ozzy, yeah.
Yeah, the first time he comes out, he kind of attacks the TV, but you don't really see what happens exactly. It's just kind of a quick thing where Ozzy Osbourne's on the TV talking about how Sammy Kerr is evil and sinful and bad for the youth. And then he kind of smacks the TV, and you sort of briefly see Ozzy Osbourne go, "Whoa!" And that's it. And then the TV goes out. Yeah. And then later on in the movie, shortly around the time that he pulls that old lady, who I think is played by the lunch lady from Shadow Zone. She looked like her anyway. But anyway, shortly before he pulls her out of the TV, there's a news article about how like that guy had like a massive heart attack or something like that.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah. So I think Sammy Kerr killed him too. So it's like, ooh, So that I do like. That part was cool. And that was probably the best death scene in the whole movie, where where she basically just gets cooked.
And you see his friend trying to vacuum her up too afterwards.
That was hysterical. That was so funny. And also, like, that's the thing that both these movies have in common, aside from it taking place on Halloween, is that in both movies one person gets cooked.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he plays the tape. Sammy Kerr does his thing. He goes to a concert, starts zapping people in the audience.
With his guitar, just started shooting him with his guitar. Lasers. And he does like has some like his performance before he starts killing people. He's like doing flips and shit.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. The only thing that annoyed the crap out of me about it was that the lip syncing was terrible. You could tell he wasn't actually singing. Like it was awful. Like there were times where his lips just didn't match, like even slightly, and it was just kind of it's like, darn, did they change the song for the movie or something? Like, did they have like a different song playing like originally? I would have liked to have heard that instead. Maybe there was like a copyright issue. I don't know but that was a bit of a bummer, so
I didn't really notice it.
Yeah. I ordinarily don't notice that kind of thing ever, actually. It's like very rare that I notice it. Like I think the only other time I kind of noticed it was maybe during Macy's Day Parade with Mariah Carey singing "All I Want for Christmas Is You." But like aside from that, I really don't notice it very much. But yeah, That's how it goes. Anyway, it's not a big deal. I don't really care if people lip sync or not. It's just in this movie, it did distract me a little bit. It's like,
Mm.
oh man. I mean, maybe you're supernatural, but not supernatural enough to lip sync. Sorry.
Yeah.
So he kills a bunch of people. There's yeah, and then there's a good like 20-30 minutes of the movie where the main character and his love interest kind of just run around trying to destroy the last recording. Like they go to the radio
Yeah.
station.
Yeah. So
But
she calls him at the party, and
mhm.
he's like, "Yeah, I'm grounded. I can't go." But he hears the music being played in the background. He's like, "Wait, what the hell's that? What is Roger there?" And he realizes that he didn't destroy it, and he's playing the music at the party. So he goes out in
Mhm.
his car, but the car somehow gets possessed by Sammy and starts driving all on its own, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
eventually, yeah, rips the cords and shit out and stops the car right before it drives off right before it drives off a bridge.
yeah. That was wild. You know, like that was a pretty cool scene
Oh,
actually.
because it was
Um,
another tape I think he made too for himself
yeah,
that
yeah.
possessed it. Because afterwards he did take it out and like when he was on the
He just
bridge, yeah.
yeah, the last tape he wanted was the one that the DJ had that he was using to that he was going to play on the radio
Yep.
because that was going to be like that's when the movie kind of turns into Halloween 3 season of the witch a little bit because it's like, oh, you got to stop them before they play it for the public or whatever, and because that's when everything's going to go wrong, and that's when Sammy Carr is basically going to take over the whole town. I guess I'm assuming is what's being implied there. Of course, I could just be making that shit up, but still, that's the impression I got. But when they get there, the place is kind of electrified, so that ends up being kind of the other issue,
And there is that fight at the school before they get there too, where uh his friend saves the day by hitting the thing.
Yeah, yeah, and you think
And
he's dead for a minute?
yeah, but he's not. But also, they were in the bathroom at one point trying to run from him, and he gets his hand. Sammy Curry gets his hand stuck in a toilet, and I guess since he's an electric monster of some sort, he like it affects him. He can't like pull his hand out, and he's getting all hurt and shit. And
Yeah,
the girlfriend
that was
flushes him, and the boyfriend makes some, I don't know, one of those one-liner jokes about looks like you're flushed or something like that. I was like, okay.
oh my gosh, yeah, that I mean the movie definitely has its campy aspects for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I did like the fact that Roger sort of Roger kind of was responsible for a bunch of people getting killed, so I like that he actually I actually thought it would have made more sense for the character to have kind of been offed right there and then, but whatever. I'm not that upset about him not dying.
Hmm.
So um and then I think I know that there was also some part where like they have to speed over like the unfinished bridge at the end or whatever, but that's
Yeah.
not
Yep.
until like at the very end. So um but yeah, they go to the radio station and yeah, they do manage to I mean it does take some time, but eventually they destroy the tape. So
Yeah, that was when they had to drive off the edge because
yeah.
they're throughout the whole thing, they're smashing radios and stuff to make sure he can't get to them, and then uh
Mhm.
he takes one of the radios from the because they steal a cop car to get to the radio station, and
Yeah.
so he wants to use himself as bait again, like comes full circle. He takes one of the handheld radios, throws it in the back of the cop car, and starts
Yeah.
driving off, taunting car, like, say, "You're a little bitch." And then he
Yeah.
finally pops out and like can't get to him because he's in the back of the car, and then
Yeah.
yeah, he drives off the cliff or
Yeah. That was
the
that was the
bridge.
best That was the absolute best way to kill a metal villain ever, is to call them a poser.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
Called him a poser. Yeah.
yeah,
That's what,
you're nothing.
because he was trying for a while to get him to come out, like while he was
Mhm.
driving, going like 80
Yeah,
miles an hour too. It kept showing the speedometer going up, and he's like,
yeah,
"You're just a poser," and then he finally
yeah,
shows up.
yeah, yeah. It turns out, that's the way to take down a evil metal demon, I guess, for lack of a better word. If you call him a poser, he'll come right out, and then you get to burn him, blow him up, take him out, crucify him, holy water, whatever the hell you need to do.
Just
You just
regular
call him a
water, I
poser,
guess,
and
this
he'll let
time.
you do it. Huh?
It was just regular water in this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's just an electric monster. Yeah.
Oh, man. Adding insult to injury. It's like, what are you, a ring wraith? But so yeah, that's the movie. Ozzy Osbourne at the end of the, like, he shows up at the after the credits and makes a comment about it being like pornography, and that's about it, really.
No, he showed up again. I
Yeah,
didn't
it was
see
like
the part.
right at the very end. It was like a split second thing. He's like,
Uh,
it's pornography or something like that. So, so yeah, pretty funny.
yeah.
Kind of a cute little movie. I mean, I don't think they were aiming for cute, but I found it charming.
Yeah.
It's like,
It wasn't
yeah,
bad.
yeah. It was like a old school kind of teenage fantasy, from the 80s. It's just pretty playful, and yeah, good Halloween movie. Actually, I like horror scenes that take place during concerts. That's one thing I will give the
Mm.
Rob Zombie Halloween movies credit for. Is I forget which one it was. I think it was the second one. There was a horror scene that took place during an actual concert. Like, that's why I thought Terror on Tour, when I chose that. That's why I thought that had potential. Because that's a horror film that takes place at a rock concert. So there's potential in that idea. This movie, I think, brings us a little closer to that,
Hmm.
realized potential. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm,
It's good. Yeah, it's fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. As for costumes, not really much to speak of. Lots of generic costumes, couple mascot costumes. Um, Nothing really all that memorable. I mean, the mom, I don't know. It just, yeah, nobody got dressed in anything scary looking, really. I mean, nobody dressed like a zombie or anything like that. It was all just playful costumes. So,
There's a
uh,
special K box that stuck out to me. Like,
yeah, there's a
girl and
special
stuff.
K.
I was like, okay, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, um, I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. Not like greatest 80s horror movie ever or anything like that. I think it got really it slowed down a lot in the last like 30 minutes or so. I felt like I don't know what happened, but it just seemed like it took forever for it to end.
Yeah.
Once everybody got killed at the concert, it was kind of like, all right, let's get to this final showdown here, but the film took its damn time getting there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
um
agree with that.
yeah. And so I liked, I will say, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I liked the first half of the movie more than the second half, when there was still kind of a sense of mystery about what was going on and what kind of potential Sammy Kerr had. Once Sammy Kerr flew out of the music and did his own thing, the makeup effects were cool, but otherwise the end result seemed a little dated to me. Mostly just felt like it was thrown in for like something that like rock fans could at the time could maybe appreciate.
Yeah.
So, and that's how those things go, but it's okay. I thought it was fun. It was a decent little time capsule of the 80s. I'd probably give it like a 2.5 overall. I'd watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm about the same with you then, I guess. I liked it enough. I'm not a big like heavy metal rock fan or anything, so
Yeah.
there's But I liked a lot of the stuff with the possessed radio and things, but it did, yeah, just become straightforward after he shows up as a in a physical form, kind of
Yeah,
fairly generic teen. I don't know, what would you use, fantasy kind
yeah,
of thing?
like yeah, good and evil hero, kind of taking down the evil sorcerer, or warlock or whatever.
Yeah, yep, and yep, that and did take its time to get there. Like I thought they could have ended it with a fight at the school or something, but then it would have been like 20 minutes too short. So, I mean, I guess they
Yeah.
had to stretch it out to make it an hour and a half, is my guess, or something. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Maybe they could have made that chase scene a couple more minutes longer.
Yeah, 10 more minutes longer.
Yeah,
Go through
yeah,
the
I'd be into
entire
that.
town.
Oh man, that'd be hilarious. Yeah. I mean, I guess also maybe if I add anything else to nitpick, it seemed like Sammy Kerr's death happens way too fast. Like I feel like it would have been better for the film to sort of take its time a little bit more getting there, like kind of show who the kid is like before a little bit more, other than just like a victim of humiliation. Like it just seemed like first the kid, gets stripped naked, and then his hero dies. Like it's like boom, boom, and it just seems like okay, this is a miserable kid. Great, here's our hero. So I feel like the movie didn't really do the hero any favors. Like I felt like it was the type of situation where you kind of grew to like the character
Hmm.
rather than you like the character and then the kind of central conflict happens. I mean, it just felt a little kind of backwards and a little bit oddly paced. So maybe if they had maybe like took a little took a little bit more time with like the first part of the script and less time with the second half part of the script to maybe balance those things out a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, I'd give it 2.5 as well, I think.
Yeah,
Straight down the middle. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'd say not as good as Arcade in my opinion, but eh,
What
pretty cool.
is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, indeed, indeed. All right, so I guess now we're going to talk about the one that you chose.
I chose Pay the Ghost,
Mm.
a 2015 Nick Cage film.
Yeah, yeah, by the director of The Little Vampire.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You almost chose that.
I almost did. Yeah, but I'll save it. I'll save it for another Halloween. So
Yeah, so it is a ghost movie, if you couldn't tell by the title.
yes, yes, definitely a ghost movie.
It's not that scary either. Um, there's
Hmm.
a couple jump scares, but it's fairly generic. I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those like I don't know if this got even released in theaters or anything
No, that's a good question.
because it doesn't have a rating. It says just
Oh,
not on the IMDb, just not rated. So I was wondering if like it was just because I saw it was just on Amazon for me. So I just wonder if
oh,
it was like just a streaming movie or something. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it might have been direct to streaming.
yeah. So I don't know. It was eh.
Yeah,
um
I mean, I thought it was. I think the scariest part of the movie was the beginning, like before, like everything kind of or I shouldn't say everything leading up to the kid going missing, but the whole part at the beginning where they go to the carnival and like what happens there, I thought was kind of creepy. Um, but yeah, I would agree that the movie overall wasn't particularly scary. So
yeah. It's full of exposition too.
yeah, yeah, it is an exposition heavy type of movie.
Yeah.
So
The first scene is, I guess a flashback or just a before, like kind of setting up like, okay, this has something to do with it, where you see just some like, I don't know, not pilgrims, but people from the olden days.
Yeah, like
Three
hiding
kids,
under the floorboards.
yeah, three kids in a basement that are their mom's getting attacked upstairs, but we don't know why. And then
Yeah.
and then it just cuts to present day where
Yeah, there is a moment where one of the kids goes, "Mom!" And then the other two
Mhm.
kids look at him like, "Shh!" And it's like, "Oh,"
Yeah,
because they're supposed to be quiet.
yeah.
And then it's like all spooky, but then it like fades to black before you can see what happens next. So it's kind of like, "Uh-oh, we'll see."
Yeah, we go to present day. We see the kid, Nick's Cage kid.
Yeah,
He's having
yeah,
trouble sleeping. He sees something outside the window or whatever, I guess, instead of under the bed. He's
yeah,
outside the window this time, and he
yeah,
goes to his mom, played by
yeah,
the lady from Walking Dead,
yeah.
is what I
That's
know
right.
her from.
Yeah, yeah. I remember her in that. And yeah, she's married to Nicolas Cage.
Yep. Sarah Wayne
Oh,
Callies.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of peeved at Nicolas Cage's character because he's not home yet. So.
Yeah, he's like a professor and he's doing some research, staying up late at the library.
Mm-hmm.
His son wanted him to tuck him in and stuff, and
Yeah,
so he comes back, tucks him in, checks the window, nothing out there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Gets home late from work. So. Yeah, I guess he's like a folklore professor, is what I kind of observed because he was talking
oh,
about Goth and um what's his name Irving, the Sleepy Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
he talks
I don't know. I
about
just
that, yeah.
gathered that he was into like folklore and mythology. So.
Yeah. Yep, some type of stuff like that, history type thing and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah,
he gave a
history
nice
of
little
folklore.
in the beginning, he gave like a nice speech, a rousing speech of whatever, like a reading
Yeah,
of something, and
yeah,
all the kids were into it. They were all dressed up too because it was Halloween, and
yeah,
they were all
yeah,
dressed up and gave him applause after he gave his cool reading of some sort.
yeah.
So
Yeah, he's a cool teacher.
yeah, he's one of the cool teachers.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but yeah, his son misses him. So
yeah,
yeah.
he gets home late. Well, and also there's a CGI vultures. I don't know. I just wrote that down at some point, but
Oh yeah, there's a lot of mysterious CGI vultures in this movie.
mhm.
A lot of them. And it seems like early on in the movie, his son spots one of them, and
Yeah,
he even says he like looks up and is like, "Did you see the bird or whatever?" Like, and she's
yeah.
like,
And his
"What are you
mom,
talking about, you
no, I don't
weirdo?"
see no bird.
Yeah, she just thinks that he's just being a weird kid, like always. But uh, it's the little kid from that movie Closet Monster, which I highly recommend. It's a very good movie.
Never heard of it.
Yeah,
Let's see. And then so it's Halloween. The kid wanted dad to help him carve the pumpkin and everything, and we get like him, like a shining scene of him on his scooter through the hallways of his house. I was like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, they're ripping off The Shining,
yeah, yeah.
but much
I like
cheesier and
that.
dumb. But
Yeah, yeah,
it was definitely an homage to that. Like, there's no way they weren't thinking about The Shining when they filmed that.
yeah. It did feel like that. I always enjoy little homages to things like that,
Yeah,
or whatever. Or if it was an homage, I don't know. But like, yeah,
yeah. But he's again, his dad's late,
mm-hmm.
so because I don't know, there's like this piece of wood that another professor found that's, I don't know if it really had anything to do with the whole thing because it doesn't really get brought up, and it was just a piece of wood that, well, I guess kind of probably if it
Yeah.
was,
It might have had a Celtic symbol on it.
it had just Roman numerals, like
Oh,
didn't have the Celtic symbols on it, but just
Okay.
Roman numerals from the, I guess, they dated the boats when they were made, and it was like
Okay.
hundreds or something that it came in. So,
Nice.
um, but yeah, he comes home late because of that, and I think he got tenure. Like that's part of the reason why he's been working late and stuff is he's trying to get tenure, and he finally
Mhm.
got it and everything.
Yeah.
But he's too late for trick or treating.
Yeah.
His mom already took the mom already took the kid trick or treating,
Yeah.
and
He's dressed like a pirate. Yeah.
and his dad's waiting. Nick Cage is waiting for him on the steps as a cowboy.
Yeah. Although when I first saw him, I thought he was Elvis.
Yeah, and he even said I couldn't find the hat. I was like, did production just lose it or something? I don't know. Like, well, or maybe it was because they had to have him because they had him because they had him riding on his shoulders, so maybe they just didn't want to deal with, I don't know, the
Oh, yeah.
logistics of that. Maybe
That's true. Yeah.
there's a carnival going on down the block that the kid wants to go to, but mom said no. But dad was like, please, because I fucked up and was late, so he wants to try and make it up to his kid. And she's just like, all right. So
Yeah.
they go to this carnival.
Yeah. His son films something kind of weird at one point because his son's playing with a video camera. Yeah. And he like sees like some weird thing like in a hood, and it's like, oh, that's kind of creepy.
And it like points at him,
Mhm.
and then somebody like walks in front of him on frame, and then it's gone. Like, ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
creepy.
It's like, oh. And Nicolas Cage is like, hey, quit fooling with that. And he just closes it and puts it in his pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they go get ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
and the kid's like just staring backward, like turned around and staring backwards, and says, "Daddy, we need to pay the ghost."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What? I don't know. Hold on." And he pays for the ice cream, and then the kid's gone. The kid's just
Yeah.
disappeared, and then that's what the whole movie's basically about. Is after this whole incident, they're looking for the kid because he just disappeared out of thin air. Basically, he was like, he was holding my hand just a second ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We get, Nicolas Cage running through the crowds going, Charlie, Charlie, where are you, Charlie?
And he like grabs the hat and like goes to the policeman and says, my kid was just with me. And like the cop doesn't give a fuck either. He's like,
Yeah.
well, you live by, right? Maybe he went home. Well, like the cop did not seem to care at all
No.
that a kid was missing.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I was
I I thought it would have been funnier if if it was just a costume. Just a guy in a costume. He's like, cop, dude. And, this is just my costume, man.
Yeah. I'm actually just like actually something like that does happen later on, kind of. Like when they're talking to that one lady in the robe, and she's talking about like what they're celebrating, and then she's like,
oh, right.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just a school teacher. I actually don't really know where you're
we just gather here for fun. We just have a fun Halloween ritual we do. I don't know anything.
Yeah. So you were on this movie's wavelength. Like that was within the realm. It just happened to happen later on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, oh well. Anyway.
So yeah, they go, like, he runs back to the house after taking the cop's advice that maybe he's home.
Yeah.
But he's not, and the mom freaks out too. They go back out looking, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Can't find him. Then it's 1 year later. They cut to 1 year later. Nick Cage is in his I guess his own apartment, because it seems like, I don't think they got divorced. I think they're just separated, because sometimes throughout the movie the wife, Sarah, I don't know if that's her name, I forget her name,
something like that. Yeah,
she does call him his husband after because they do get back on the same page after she starts. Because what happens is, I guess, well, like there's also that funny board of he's like trying to do detective work, so there's that pin cork board with pictures and strings all over it and shit, and
Yeah.
he goes to the cops every few days with new information of like this guy was released 2 days before and he was a kidnapper and he
Yeah.
could have been there, and he's like, I know, and the cop was like, I know, we've checked everything, we have been doing our work, the NYPD isn't lazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nicolas Cage. Yeah, he's got the great moment between him and the cop where, because Nicolas Cage, like, he's gone full on conspiracy theorist, like the whole 9 yard, child trafficking craziness. And the cop, he's like, you guys don't care. You guys are just lazy sons of bitches. And the cop brings out like this big book. It's like bigger than the Bible. He's
Yeah,
like,
it's a thick book of this is
yeah,
Charlie's files, and this is just what's on paper. We have 20 times that in the computer.
yeah. It's like, wow, Nicolas Cage is a nut. And
Yeah.
the guy's like, we're definitely not lazy. And Nicolas Cage, in response, all he says is, find my son. And then he leaves. It's like, okay. So that's
Yeah.
kind of an asshole, but I get it. He's grieving, so, and she's grieving too, so, which is, I guess, why they need to spend almost a year apart, because
Yeah, she blames him for it and everything. And even the cop, when he confronts him, he's like, he kind of insinuates that it's you're the last one seen with him, and it's like, you're blaming this on me? Am I a suspect? Kind of thing,
Yeah. We, like you've mentioned before, it's familiar. So
Yeah. But eventually, Nick Cage is putting out missing posters still, and he thinks he sees his son on the bus.
Yeah.
And he chases a bus down, but it's nope, his kid's not on the bus.
Yeah.
So he gets off the bus and sees some vultures, like those CG. There's just CGI vultures like throughout the movie. It's really bad CGI vultures too.
Yeah. They definitely stick out a little bit. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, and they kind of lead him to this, I guess, I don't know, homeless encampment. I guess I forget what they call them, but it's one of those like weird homeless encampments. And it was like graffitied on the wall outside, "Pay the ghost." So
Yeah, it's like a barbarian style homeless encampment. Yeah, pay the ghost is written on the wall in graffiti. In a city full of graffiti, pay the ghost.
Yep. And he goes down there. There's this blind dude that definitely knows something. And he takes him to a wall that just has "Pay the Ghost" all over it. And he's like, what does it mean? And he doesn't really respond. He just says, I don't know. You got to get out of here now, though.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's that wailing too. There's like some wailing that he hears.
The crying lady.
The dude says, oh yeah, she always comes before Halloween. So these are little breadcrumbs we're getting throughout the movie.
They all lead somewhere. It's like a Brothers Grimm mystery, It's kind of interesting. Yeah. He does reconnect with his wife too, after a little bit of conflict.
Yeah, they argue. She blames him.
Yeah, but they're both very sad. Obviously, I mean, Nicolas Cage has a little bit of a crying moment, and so does she. So,
yeah. He's doing more research. He's in his apartment. He's watching. Well, I guess not research. He's watching the video that the kid took, and then he turns it off, but then it turns back on, and it shows a picture of a house that we don't know yet what that house is, but we do find out. And he's been like telling his wife that he's been seeing him right lately and hearing him, and she's like, I see him every day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But eventually she actually like is sleeping one night, and then she goes downstairs and sees um the scooter just scooting on its own.
Yeah.
And then she
Yeah.
starts to believe him. She starts to believe Cage, and that's when they get back together because she actually had proof that because he's trying to reach out to us. I think that's my guess or whatever.
Yeah. And she's just like, fuck you. You
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah. And in some of his research too, he starts getting closer that all these missing kids. He's showing
Mhm.
her like all these missing. There's tons of missing kids that get found, but for some reason on Halloween, there's a bunch that don't
That
come
don't.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something different about this day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Nicolas Cage's job, I guess, to find out what that difference is. And he's got that German girl who's like his partner, who's also doing research for him too. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of his co-workers, I guess.
mhm. Yeah, kind of the one that I gather he's been like friends with the longest, like, or has known for like the longest or something. So,
Yeah.
his partner almost.
Yeah. Um, and then he does bring this info to the cops too that the Halloween kids don't come back, and then the cop kind of brushes him off while he's there, but when he leaves, he's like tells the lady, "Start looking up these Halloween events or whatever," to one of the
Yeah.
secretaries down there. And then
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
starts taking it seriously, even though that cop doesn't really do much in the end. He's like he just shows up every now and then in the movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't help at all, though.
Yeah. He's even more useless than the cop in Mr. Ice Cream Man. And
Yeah,
I didn't think that was even possible, but yeah.
yeah. So they're doing their research, Cage and his wife. They go to this junkie's apartment, which is like apparently one of the kids that went missing as well on Halloween that never came back.
Yeah.
He's a junkie. There's like heroin needles all over, and he's looking
Yeah.
all messed up. And
Yeah. He's essentially descended into madness. So
yeah, he's a Spanish fellow though, and he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, my kid said pay the ghost, but they said it in Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the darkest part of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Showed how fucked up you can get after losing a kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess one of the other things the cop did was he goes to another one of the missing kids from last year's parents as well.
That's true.
I don't know, some type of Asian, I think Chinese, because they were in a maybe Chinese food
Yeah. I
thing.
probably that's the impression I got. So
And she again says, "Yeah, my daughter said
pay the ghost.
pay the ghost," but in her language, whatever
Yeah.
whatever they were speaking.
Yeah.
And after she says that too, like just a giant explosion happens in the kitchen. Like it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For real. Like this movie is a little odd at times,
Mm-hmm.
Um
So yeah, they are.
oh,
What's that?
is this around the time that they decide maybe it'd be a good idea to find a medium?
Yep. Yeah. So they go to the they are reconnecting at this point. They have dinner together, but like the electricity goes out and Nick Cage sees a bunch of dead kids and then
Mhm. Yeah. They kind of keep appearing again and again.
yeah. And then does that happen before after?
I mean, I know that like when he was talking to the homeless guy, one of them appeared behind him at one point, like flashes.
Yeah, I think it was his own kid that flashed. It was behind him at one point.
Probably,
At that
I
point.
think it might have been a kid in a pirate costume because his kid was like a yeah, like his kid is basically in that pirate costume throughout the rest of the movie. So
Yeah. But that is when they get the medium involved and she, does her medium things and she looks
yeah,
out the window and she says, "Oh, I see it. They have all the kids." And she opens the window and then just
yeah,
gets fucking flung back into the wall, gets
yeah,
all choked and shit and like
yeah,
poltergeisty type shit
yeah.
happening.
She basically just gets like roasted from the inside.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah. We don't like whatever. because we see later, because it's just such a random, like we kind of get that
Yeah.
when we see it happening, but for some reason they had to show us the inside and it didn't really make sense. I guess it might be because of what the witch happens, because the witch is burned at the stake or whatever we find
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So she
So maybe
wanted to-
that's the connection, but like, yeah, they go
Yeah.
to the morgue and the mortician shows the doctor that, yeah, she's just charred up from the inside out.
yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, that was gnarly. Yeah, maybe they wanted to add the autopsy scene just to add a little bit more edge to the movie because the movie wasn't edgy enough at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, but this get pretty edgy right after too, though, where
yeah,
like Charlie, it looks like Charlie possesses the mom or something, and she's like carving something into her arm, like,
yeah,
and it's a Celtic symbol. They find out with doing some research and stuff with the other coworker professor. There's a bunch of exposition at this point through most the rest of the movie till the end, basically, of what some Celtic thing.
Yeah. I mean, you find out that the ghost in question, who is looking to get payment, is this woman who was basically being hunted for having pagan beliefs. And so she and her 3 children get burned at the stake. And so the opening scene of the movie of Pay the Ghost is of the 3 kids hiding in the basement, watching them take her mom. And then the kid yells for his mom, and then they find the kids. And so they all get gathered up and cooked and roasted at the stake. But before she dies, she vows to return every year to take children, as payment for.
And we learn this in 2 different sections too. We learn that it was a Celtic thing but they don't know what it means, so they track down the church, the Celtic church, where the lady we mentioned earlier is like, I don't know anything except for I do know everything.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I don't know any.
Yeah.
She says, I'm just a teacher. I don't know anything, but hey, this is exactly everything.
Yeah, she ended up being the most helpful person in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, she even gave them like the right directions. I mean, because it's like, oh, where's the gate? Because it's only open for a couple hours.
A couple hours on Halloween.
Yep. Yeah. And it closes at midnight. But where is it? Oh, it's where she's crying. Like,
yeah, there's wherever she's crying, and and so something also convenient that she exposition dropped too is that only the previous year's kids can be saved. Like, so they were asking if there's any way we could still save our kid, or is he dead? And she's like, only last year's kids can be saved. Everyone else is doomed. It's like, oh, well, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah. So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that was silly, because that made me think of that line in End of Days when they're talking about how Satan, that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, when they're talking about how Satan is gonna doom the world at midnight, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, is that Eastern Standard Time or?
True.
Yeah.
And we even find out from her the name of the lady, Annie Sokerin. I have bad handwriting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna call her Annie Sprinkle.
But we do see the whole thing of the mom coming, taking her, and they say like, "Oh yeah, they burned the kids in front of her too before they burned her and shit." So it's pretty edgy, I guess.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly, And and also his partner there, she kind of gets thrown out a window, right?
Just randomly, yeah. She was doing some research, and I don't know why because that ghost, the hooded figure. Plus, they looked pretty cool. I'll admit.
It was cool. Yeah, I like
It's cool
that. It
looking.
looked cooler than the vultures.
Yeah, yeah. He pushes it, or the monster pushes her out a window for some reason. I guess she's getting, I don't know why, getting too close to the truth or something.
You learn too much. Yeah.
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 And then,
Yeah.
so
Nicholas,
after,
yeah, go on.
oh no, you go. What was it?
I was gonna send Nicolas Cage and his what, like, don't they get thwarted on the way to the moaning location
Yes,
too?
that was what I was gonna say. Yeah, they
Yeah.
take a taxi to go to the moaning location, but a bunch of the vultures slam into the taxi and they get in a crash and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
cab driver is like, "Whoa, oh, like it's not, oh, vultures, they're just a normal thing."
right, no, yeah, New York City. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But again, I guess a pretty bad car crash because the driver is taken off on a stretcher, and
Mm.
the mom wife has to stay with him to make sure she doesn't have a concussion. But Nick Cage seems to be fine because he just starts booking it like, "Hey!" They yell after him, say, "Hey, wait, no!" Then he has his Nick Cage run.
Hmm.
He has a very
Yeah.
specific run.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Always fun to see Nicolas Cage run.
Hmm. And he gets to the homeless encampment, but all the homeless people are gone except for the blind dude.
Uh,
And he knows what's up for some reason, I guess. I don't know why. He just knows things.
yeah.
Um he basically tells, yeah, so this portal's gonna be open just until midnight. So he knows all about the portal, all about everything. Give me your watch for payment and I'll take you there.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah, so the portal is that wall he took him to at first,
Okay.
but it, I don't know, disappears into a bridge thing. That's the afterlife over there. You're gonna have to go over there and find your kid.
Yeah.
Take him out before midnight.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So he kind of wanders into a whole massive army swarm of children, basically.
Hmm. Yep, and
And
like
yeah.
he's like touching them and they're like ghosty, so his hands going through them and he's looking for his kid and he finds him. He finds his
Yeah.
kid and he can hold on to him. He's not a ghost yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very emotional moment.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
kid has made a couple little friends as well. So it's like, can they come with us? And we know whose kid they belong to.
Yeah, we saw their
Um,
parents earlier.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. So they tag along. And then Nick Cage has to face the final boss.
on the bridge is the
Mhm.
fight scene with the wraith, whatever the hell it's the lady because
Yeah.
she turns into the lady at one point during that fight to look at
Yeah.
the kids and stuff. But Nick Cage doesn't really do anything but get chucked around.
Yeah.
And whatever beats the ghost is, I assume, a bunch of other ghosts that just start flying around her. I think it's
Yeah.
like ghosts of the other kids, it seems like, that just
I
start
think so.
flying around her and trapping her. She's all screaming and shit. And
Yeah. The other kids are like, enough is enough.
yeah,
You ain't
payback,
taking any more of us.
right?
So, yeah.
Gets payback
Yeah.
on her, I guess. And they make it out.
Pretty-
They make it
Yeah.
out in time. They did have to run across the bridge while it was collapsing, but they didn't
Yeah.
have to like do a dive under the portal closing or anything. They made it out
Yeah.
with enough time, I guess.
Yeah. This movie managed to avoid those cliches. So
Yeah.
that's good. So Nicolas Cage, he kept his promise to his son, which is a beautiful thing.
Yep.
And yeah, they make it back. So his son doesn't seem to remember getting kidnapped by the ghost. He's
Or where
just
he
like,
was for the past year at all.
yeah,
He
we're
thinks
just at a
it's,
carnival.
yeah, we just came back from the carnival, Mom. Oh, there's my hat. I thought I lost it.
Yeah, he doesn't even notice the fact that his dad not only has a big scar on his forehead or a big cut, but he's not even wearing his Elvis suit anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
He asks his mom why she's crying. I was like, I
Yeah.
just missed you.
Yeah. These damn kids are just not observant. So
Yeah.
that's the message of the movie. Damn kids are not observant.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And that's the end of Pay the Ghost. Kind of.
Kind of,
Did you?
yeah.
There's a mid-credit scene with we see the impaled professor open her eyes.
Yep, yep, yep. After the crows start picking at her, so I don't know. There might be a second Pay the Ghost. Pay the Ghost too.
Right.
Uh,
Doubt it, but yeah, they leave it
yeah,
open. They leave
yeah,
the
probably
door
not.
open.
Yeah, they want there to be a sequel. You know,
Mhm.
this movie was kind of like it kind of felt like sort of like a ripoff of Insidious a little bit. Although I kind of feel like really it, it would have been I think really the main issue I had with this movie is like it took place in the city. I think it would have been actually been creepier if it took place in like a small village or like a small town or something like that, like
Yeah.
where everybody's kind of close together, you know, because that way it would have been a lot creepier if like these kids are going missing or this one kid goes missing. Like I felt like the only reason it took place in the city was so that there could be three kids that go missing instead of one, but I think it would have been probably just as creepy, if not more creepy, if it had just been one kid. So that was my main gripe is the fact that it took place in like a big environment like the city, and yet Nicolas Cage seemed to have no problem really getting anywhere or trying to find any of these locations because they all seem to be basically just around the corner from where he lived.
Yeah.
You know, like the carnival, it was like right down the street.
Yeah. Yep. You can see it from his little driveway, not driveway, but stoop.
Yeah, yeah. um, but I don't know. Like I enjoyed it,
Yeah,
honestly. I
it's
didn't mind
fine.
it. Yeah,
Wasn't like crazy bad or anything. Wasn't that exciting either, but
yeah. It wouldn't. I wouldn't say that this was one of Nicolas Cage's more like wild roles or anything like that.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
unfortunate. You don't get full on Cage. You just get his subdued version of him.
yeah, exactly. Like it felt like he made this as sort of as therapy for being in Mom and Dad. You know, where the movie where he tries to kill his own kid.
I love
This
that
movie,
movie. Yeah,
yeah, that was actually a good movie. Yeah.
yeah,
It felt like this was the movie that Nicolas Cage wanted to make afterward, to sort of explore his kinder, gentler side a little bit more. It's like, you know what? I'm in the mood for another Family Man type of movie, except not a comedy. It's going to be a horror movie taking place on Halloween. It felt like that was the type of mindset he had, you know.
yeah,
So, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of a kind of a charming little. I didn't find it boring, really. I mean,
yeah.
I think it got a little slow around the time that they like were sort of not really finding anything else out other than like, oh, there's like some spooky moaning and there's some other like once the whole thing with the medium, I thought that's when the movie started to get a bit chunky. Um but I don't know. I was still invested. I actually felt really bad for Nicolas Cage. Actually, I kind of felt a sort of strange sense of sadness at the part where he was running around the street dressed as Elvis, trying to find his son. Like that's such a pitiful kind of.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's like he works so hard, he misses Halloween, trick or treating, and it's like you know he just wanted to like enjoy some time, and then his son goes missing, and he's like dressed in a pathetic cowboy suit. It's like I like how can you not feel bad for Nicolas Cage in such a
Yeah,
predicament, you know?
and like
So
the year later too, he's doing another reading on Halloween,
mhm.
but it's a lot less. He doesn't have all that energy. He's just kind of, sad because it's been, a tough year on him. And the kid,
Yeah.
there's nobody in the classroom this time. It's like a fairly empty class, and
Yeah.
you can tell
Yeah.
he's lost his mojo.
Yeah. He gets depressed after he loses his son, you know? And like he goes from being the cool teacher who's all like fuck the authority and the kids are all like yeah to mm, sleepy hollow,
Yeah,
sleepy and it's hollow, and then the bell rings. It's like
yeah.
yeah, that's a bummer.
Didn't get an applause this time.
No, not this time. So, But yeah, I thought it was a pretty fun little Halloween movie. I'd give it a 2.5 as well, I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, straight down the middle. You can throw it on and watch it, have fun.
Yeah.
Only an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not too much of a time commitment. Neither of them are really. They're both around the
Yeah,
same length.
yeah.
So actually, I'd say they probably make a pretty good double feature. I mean, they're both different enough, but they also kind of are Halloween centric enough. Like both movies have plenty of little costumes in them and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the perfect Halloween movie has yet to be made.
Hmm.
Some people will argue that it's the movie Halloween, but I wouldn't. There's not enough leaves. So,
Yeah,
and I understand why, because they only had a bag of leaves to work with. It's because it was so low budget. They were shooting in
just
like
one bag of leaves.
California. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. I just feel like they're like, yeah, I feel like the perfect Halloween movie, maybe that other Trick or Treat movie, not the one we watched, but the more recent one that came out in 2007. Like I know a lot of people like that one as well, but I would say both of the movies on this episode, Trick or Treat and Pay the Ghost, both have their own sort of fun little things to offer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say Trick or Treat was the scarier of the two, though. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
think so. Yeah. A little more action packed too.
Yes, most definitely. So, um, but yeah, is there anything else, or does that just about cover it?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that concludes our episode. Next time, I believe the plan is to talk about Making Contact, aka Joey. Um, I still haven't decided which version I'm going to watch. Probably going to just be the 79-minute long theatrical version, but just because that one's easier to find. So,
Okay.
but I don't know. I think the German version is on YouTube, so yeah, I'll probably just stick with the American one. So just yeah,
All right. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so I guess that just about does it. So yeah, happy Halloween.
Happy
Enjoy.
Halloween.
Yeah. Hope you have a spooky night and spooky time. Go watch some horror movies. Yeah, I don't know. Can you think of any to recommend? I mean, I don't know. Off the
Mm,
top of my head, I don't know. I'd maybe go watch a Friday the 13th movie or something.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are always fun. So, all right, cool. Well, have a good night, everybody. And yeah, happy holiday.
Yeah, have a good one.